Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Attorney Shayan. Today, I have a really, really good friend of mine who is in the same area as I'm in Dallas, Texas, as you can see from the background. Nadeem Zaman, who is the coordinator for PTI North America, all of North America, lives not too far from me. And, just as a disclosure, we know each other outside politics as well. And we don't necessarily agree on everything, but, we agree on most things. But I've invited him today, and he's graciously accepted to talk about what is going on in Pakistan. He is a senior, obviously, member of PTI. I'm going to ask him a few things about his involvement, then we'll get into the heart of the matter and ask some tough questions, which I know, of all people, Nadeem can definitely handle. And my hope is that Nadeem will give us some hidden gems and hopefully some insider information, which he's able to disclose. I understand he may not be able to disclose everything. Okay, Nadeem, let's get into it. First of all, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Shayan, for having me. I am grateful to you and to your viewers. I look forward to what's going to happen in the next half an hour and 1 hour, how long we go about this. I know, just like you said to your viewers, that we have known each other outside of this, and this exchange is going to be a different one for both of us. Right. But no other, I think we both can carry ourselves, and I think it's going to be very interesting for your viewers.
Yeah. And you're here as a guest of the show, and my job here is basically to try to find out what you may want to disclose and what your analysis is of the situation. As a coordinator for North America, that is a heavy, heavy responsibility. I mean, do you have an estimation of how many PTI members are in North America?
Yes. So currently, we are doing it as a yearly subscription, as opposed to in the previous, once you have become member until, and mind you, I'm talking about paid membership, not just registered membership.
Not just supporters.
Yeah, not just supporters. So paid membership. So currently we are at somewhere about 7,000 plus. I don't have the exact number, but it's a little over 7,000. This goes back to, unfortunately, back in 2013, we had actually more than 7,000. We were around 7,600 plus. That membership was all canceled for, again, administrative reasons and within party wranglings as that happened. And then it took a very long time to rebuild. And finally, there has been a surge in this membership, and I must say, in the last couple of years. So in the last couple of years, this membership has really grown from a couple of hundred, I shouldn't say a couple of hundreds, but we're more like, 500, 600 to this number that it is again. I do want to tell you that the membership fee in the past was twice as much as it is today.
Oh, that always helps if the price goes down, right? And also, I would think, Nadeem, that the very fact that there has been an impetus and actually a law passed where expats, Pakistanis living outside of this Pakistan can vote now. So that must have encouraged a lot of people to step up and get involved. Is that your reading too?
Yes, that is. Shayan, I want to, because, you being an attorney and keeping an eye on the legal aspects of all this, I want to clarify this, that the right to vote for overseas Pakistanis has been there for longer than we actually think. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the word I'm looking for, you probably...
Reintroduced or revamped or what?
Yeah, revamped, but through the legal process, through the parliament. So it was again revamped through right after Musharraf, when Asif Ali Zardari was the president. So they actually revamped this and again confirmed that the right for overseas Pakistani to vote exists. The Constitution guarantees it, but then they specifically mentioned the overseas Pakistanis. The problem is the method to execute that right. Right now, as everyone is as happy about it, as of right now, we still don't have that method.
So the mechanism has been missing throughout. Basically, the law has been there, so to speak, the right has been there, but no, the government hasn't spent any resources or given any thought process to, okay, how we got. Because let's look, for instance, when overseas Americans vote in the U.S. elections, right? There are mail-in ballots, right?
Right.
So that would be one way of doing it, I suppose. The other way would be, I heard that going to consulates or going through consulates, something like that. So, but what you're saying is, even at this point, it is not settled. So next election, whether it happens in 3 months or a year and a half from now, we are going to have the same problem. Meaning no mechanism.
Yeah, it's very much possible. And all these methods have challenges. As you know, that a very vast majority of our voters that's in Middle East are not literate enough to get a ballot in mail, identify what they have to decide, and then send it back mail by, in a certain way. So as you know, most of the labor force in the Middle East, they would not be able to do that. So that was one of the challenges that they didn't go with the mail-in ballot. Then the second part that you have mentioned is to be a polling booth at the consulate. Now imagine a person in Nebraska wanted to vote. He either had to fly to Chicago or to DC or to Dallas or to Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was going to be almost impossible, that as well. So now they have become, they're actually working with NADRA, and NADRA has done so many different projects, both in the urban and the rural areas and across the board with the Pakistani, of all backgrounds, of all different literacy grades. Okay. So they have identified what they have used a term called e-voting, and that would be through a phone. And the phone will have.
So how safe is that? How hack proof is that? I mean, phone or email or.
Yeah. So there's always that that element of foul play, no matter what you do. We can do ballot boxes, but the first thing someone will tell you is that, the same ballot box we've been doing for 60 years or 70 years. So there's going to be an element of mischief and foul play. However, we have to look at it what's practical and what's secured. Of course, we don't want it unsecured, but we have been told by NADRA that it is possible. It's going to be linked with your ID card, and which is the NICOP. So you will have to have a NICOP, first of all, to be eligible to vote, then register to vote, and then there will be e-voting. We have done enough things through, through online services. We have done enough through online services that have been provided by all kind of organizations that I think it may not be the end of the world if we do go to e-voting.
It'll be the end of someone's world. It always is. Someone always pretends like it's bigger than anything else that's ever happened. Let me ask you this. I heard this recently, Nadeem, and on the same subject. One of the things that I think the opposition is basically, or rather, PTI is saying about the opposition is that one of the reasons they really wanted this to come back into interim government or get rid of PTI government at this point, just before the election, was to change some of these election laws. Now, is that your belief and understanding? Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah. That's actually a stated. That's a statement from PDM, which is the platform where bunch of opposition party are using. So it's a statement issued by them in which they have identified 3 core issues that they want to tackle. Number one is the changing laws of NAB, and then over a period of time disbanding NAB, which is the National Accountability Bureau. The second part is that rolling back the election amendments, specifically the use of electronic voting machine. And third is putting, they have used a softer word, but we know what it means. Putting on hold the right to vote for overseas Pakistani right now, as they explore more ways as to what will be the better way to execute this program, which probably never.
But let me do a little bit of pushback on that, or at least let me do a counter on that. So those 3 things, before I get NAB would be last, but let me talk about this. electronic voting, one of the issues was that the source code or the opposition, according to them, were not taken into confidence, so to speak, weren't shared. The source code weren't allowed or asked to join the decision-making process of using electronic voting. But I also understand that it'll be, if the election does happen in 90 days, electronic voting would probably not be possible in that anywhere, right? That's my understanding.
Yeah, but let me reply to the whole, to the crux.
Okay, we'll take it one by one. Yeah.
Yeah. So the part where you specifically said electronic voting machine and has not been shared. Number one, the decision as to which type of electronic voting machine is going to be used is going to be taken by the Election Commission, which is an independent body. And if anything, they are right now at odds with the sitting government. The second part is since they haven't decided which voting machine to use, it will be almost impossible for the sitting government to show the opposition as to which machine and what source code. Again, the decision has to be taken by Election Commission. So that's misleading actually at best.
Okay. Let's go to the second thing. You said something about, obviously we agreed that, and you mentioned that there's no set mechanism for expats to vote at this point. So that's kind of like in the wind, right? It's not exactly set. Let's get to NAB. Now, is that not true? And as objectively as you can look at it, and this is not just PTI, but obviously Nawaz Sharif, his whole party, PPP, everybody has used NAB to just basically victimize their opponents, it seems. I think a lot of people are very, how should I put it, disappointed and surprised that NAB, number one, cannot convict anybody. And number two, when they convict somebody, when they did in the situation with Nawaz Sharif, they let him go. So the question becomes, what is the NAB actually doing?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that narrative that NAB is ineffective and may have been used or is suspected of being used politically. Shayan, your viewers should know this, that the current lawsuits that NAB has started against any of the political characters. No, forget about the business and other entities, but the cases about on Zardari or on Shahbaz Sharif or Nawaz Sharif, they were initiated prior to PTI coming into government. So currently, none of the petitions that have been filed by PTI has been undertaken by NAB as of yet. So this is a fact. So the question is that has it been used prior? You are absolutely, I mean, 100% agreed, because in those days they have used it, and these open cases right now that Nawaz Sharif is trying to evade, and so is Zardari. They were, I mean.
So why weren't in 3.5 years? Sorry. Finish your last sentence. I talked over you. Say that again, please.
I'll dare and agree with you that they seem to be politically motivated because, again, it seems like the cases are not strong enough that none of this is ever proven. So
yeah, and also I think that's a larger criminal justice issue in Pakistan as well. The forensic, the lack of collecting evidence. But we will digress because obviously we talked about NAB. Now nobody is saying now. Are you suggesting that essentially Zardari and these guys are saying if they come, that NAB will be gone and there'll be no accountability body for politicians? Is that the position? Or they're saying NAB is bad, but we are obviously, there are other laws and there are things that you can use to hold politicians accountable and other nefarious characters accountable.
Yeah, that qualifier that you added at the back, if it would have shown up in any of their press conference, that would have built up their case pretty strong. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. They have always full stop at NAB, and they didn't continue that. And if they would have said that NAB, the current laws of NAB are not sufficient, they are counterproductive, we need to replace NAB with a better option. If that was the case, but they start with specifically saying NAB is not good and it must be abolished. And again, what the qualifier?
Well, NAB is used being used for political purposes as their position, right? And must be abolished. Of course, you and I both know that when the other side comes in, chances are they'll start liking NAB all of a sudden. So, okay, now let me ask you this. Has PTI lost the majority of parliamentarians in the House at this point?
Yes, as of right now, actually the House is already,
Yes, yes.
But prior to that, based on what our members or the announcements or the news was coming, based on that information, those allies or those members who actually belong to PTI or its coalition, the numbers have gone below to that was required to.
Yeah, 172 is required. I think the other side almost had 196. That's what the numbers were. Obviously, it didn't get to the motion and there was no vote counting, right? So why was this step necessary?
Shayan, that's their claim. They claim to have 197.
Right. Claim. Yes, I agree with you that there's no way to verify it because voting didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So why was this step necessary? Why couldn't we just do a voting and basically go to the next step, whatever it was going to be? I mean, elections were going to happen. So first of all, let me ask you three-part questions in that. Number one, were you aware of this strategy? Number two, was it held really close to the chest? Because you guys were saying, a lot of PTI people were saying, oh, surprise, surprise, surprise coming, right? But now I hear people saying there are three surprises. If this doesn't work, there's B. If B doesn't work, there's C. So what do you guys got in store there? You want to give us some hints?
So let's make sure that everyone understands. If anyone tells you that they knew about the invoking Article 5, they're lying. As of right now, when I found out, and I did speak Speaker's office, and I did speak to the governor's office, then the morning of
Governor Punjab or which governor?
Same Punjab governor.
Oh, Ismail, sir.
Right. So this, the Speaker of the House and Governor Ismail, these are the kitchen cabinet guys. They're the guys, and they didn't share that information with me prior. However, right after, I've already found out, but they said that that was decided, and they've been working on it for some time now, and they have been building towards it. So that was the strategy. I was aware of one of the other option, and I think that was also discussed in media. This particular one was not discussed that much in media, although some of the lawyers have pointed out towards it, but they were like on Sama TV, which are considered. I saw one on Sama TV, and Sama is not considered very friendly with the sitting government. So for some reason nobody took it seriously, and when I look back, the guy was right on money, and if somebody
had mentioned something along these lines, and nobody took it seriously.
Yeah,
because do you think this was like a nuclear option, right? This was a very big step to take in many ways. I mean, calling almost 190 elected politicians Gadar is a big step. It's a big, very, as we say in the US, where you need a lot of cojones to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's important that so you look at it that way, and I look at it a little differently, and I'll explain why I look at it differently. The presence of a conspiracy and somebody becoming a tool of conspiracy doesn't make them a traitor. I think it's a very strong language, and if our friends at PTI are using it, I even wrote today about the Prime Minister using that language, and I object to it. I'm not. I think that calling someone traitor is unless you have evidence to bring that in court of law and go through with it, just labeling someone, I think it's not.
But the Deputy Speaker's statement was pretty clear, right? I mean,
so what Deputy, because I have the written statement, I'll share that with you.
Okay.
I have the detailed statement from Deputy Speaker, and in that again, the tool, becoming a tool to conspiracy does not qualify you as a traitor. You could be deceived or you could do it not knowingly. So in other words, I could tell you that, hey, we are about to bring this tree down, and it's because every spring there is a honest medicine on it, and you may do it, but in fact I'm going to steal the wood that is very expensive. So it's again the description, and I object to my own friends using the word traitor. I think it's too strong.
Yeah, because it's deeply insulting to a lot of people, and especially as someone who, no matter whether we like them or not, they have spent a lot of time in the public sphere, and they believe, we have not seen them openly go against the country, and all of a sudden to be from the pulpit, right, of the highest house, the parliament, right? Somebody says, you're a traitor, this is gone. So I'm glad to hear you disagree with it, but at the same time, that is the claim. I mean, that is what's going on under Article 5.
Yeah, so the claim is, and again, it's, and you must have seen in the last couple of days as to what the counterclaim has become, and unfortunately, that's how the
what are you referring to? Can you say that so that we're on the same page?
Once the Supreme Court has taken suo motu, there are statements coming from the opposition saying that Constitution was abrogated by the Speaker.
Article 6 issues.
And Article 6 should be against, and not only they're, they should be hanged. So political rhetoric. I wish it wasn't that bad, and it's on both.
Well, but again, not to justify that kind of talk, but look, when you call somebody a traitor, you're asking for a very strong response. That is a very viscerally hurtful thing for anyone to say. I mean, people, most people say, hey, I'll die for my country, I'll do whatever. Now, again, we know the reality. We know most people don't die. Only a lot of poor soldiers go to die, obviously, young men and women, right? But that's a different story, right? Now, if you're saying that, you disagree with that, I get it. But in the Supreme Court at this point, the question becomes whether the deputy speaker, number one, and tell me and correct me if obviously, or add something if you think I'm missing something.
Sure.
This is what I think it's turning on at this point. One, whether the deputy speaker even had the power to give that speech, because they're saying the speaker should do it, not the deputy speaker. And two, whether it was procedural or not, or a constitutional issue, I think it's almost settled that it may be a constitutional decision on the part of the speaker or deputy speaker, right? Whoever wrote that statement. Now, the question becomes whether it's unconstitutional or not, right? Is that, do you agree that that's what it's coming down to?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's our understanding is that because of Article 69 of the Constitution, based on which a decision was rendered by Supreme Court just a day before, on April 2nd to be exact, in which the Supreme Court specifically, and I have a copy of that decision, in which this is specifically as an article mentioned by the Supreme Court decision, is that due to the presence of Article 69 in the Constitution of Pakistan, the matters of Parliament cannot be affected or can be challenged in the court of law. So
agreed, but that's leaving out the fact it depends on whether it's a question of constitutionality or procedural, right? Or something that only a parliament can resolve within itself, right? A Supreme Court's very function is to have people argue what's constitutional, what's unconstitutional, and reach a decision.
Well, again, the procedures are pretty clear, and the constitutionality of this has not been challenged. It's been looked into. Well, of course, the opposition people say that it's it was wrongly applied, and the people in the former Treasury, the former government, people in the former government, they say that no, this is exactly.
So, isn't Article 5 a part and parcel of the very argument that Deputy Speaker made? Let me ask you this: if Article 5, which basically says no one can, I don't have the exact terminology, but the essence of it is that basically you cannot betray, you cannot stand against Pakistan. And if that's what the speaker's saying, then basically, if that fails, then doesn't the whole assessment of this motion is no good because you guys are traitors falls apart?
Yeah, so let me explain. So Article 5 has two clauses. One of it is that it is the obligation of a citizen not to, indulge in anti-state, activities.
Activities. Okay.
Second part of that clause is that it is obligation of every citizen of the country to stop if they come to know anything like this, that they need to stop it. The speaker, in his understanding, looking at Article 5, in which was giving supported information.
Deputy Speaker. Let's be clear, Deputy Speaker. We don't know if the Speaker wrote that statement, right? We presume maybe, but the Deputy Speaker said that. Yeah.
The Deputy Speaker was rendering it. So in his statement afterwards, the lengthy decision that he shared, in which he said that he's been given supported content, and based on the information that he has had over since this motion was introduced, and all the different things have happened, all the different events. So the sequence of events based on those, and then adding to this existence of this communique, he has come to a conclusion that this is a malified, with a malified intent, and second, that it is his job, and according to the Constitution of Pakistan, to stop it, and that's how he acted.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's unpack that kind of the perspective that Deputy Speaker is bringing to this. So how many of those people who are being branded Article 5 culprits at this point are PTI, ex-PTI members? What, at least, I would say at least 30, 25, 30 people, at least, right?
I think the numbers have fluctuated, and again.
Okay, let's say 20.
Okay. Since the voting never happened, so we don't know if there were 7 or 17 or 27.
Okay, let's say 10, 5.
I'm going with it. Yeah.
The reason is this. The reason we can agree on any number. The point is that they were PTI members. So PTI within itself is arguing that there were people in PTI conspiring with the US to do this against PTI, right? So that is that's a circular argument saying within our ranks we had these traitors, right? And now look, they went on the first, their argument was they're being horse traded. Oh, 3 crore rupiya mil gaya in logon ko. And now it's like, no, they were with the US all along. So basically, thoda sa aap logon ka narrative change ho gaya. Now, that's one thing, but the biggest problem is the way this letter came into being. And, you have to admit, Nadeem, that I guess you and I are not objective observers, but at the same time, agar hum log apni objective hat pehne and just apply common sense, the letter allegedly was received on March 6th or 7th, something like that, right? The motion was tabled, March 23rd? Oh, I'm sorry, the next day. I apologize. The next day, right?
Yep.
So they're basically saying, the speaker saying that within those 2 to 3 weeks until this event happened where he disqualified or rejected that motion, he was able to objectively reach a decision based on an investigation, a thorough and serious investigation. How is that humanly possible?
Okay. So we will go with what's being reported as of, again, I don't have a personal knowledge of.
I'm asking for your point of view, right?
Yeah. So it's based on what have been reported, and I'll just add that, and then.
Okay.
So again, the government has evidence in which the diplomatic staff of foreign countries have been in touch with, and that activity started about a few months back, and the dates are, fluctuating between 90 days to 60 days, between that time, these last 60 to 90 days, this activity has started taking place. Then it had really intensified after Russian invasion of Ukraine. It really intensified, and finally, after the U.S., when Pakistan abstained in the UNGA's voting on Ukraine, that's when the U.S. started contacting some of the lawmakers on individual basis,
and saying what?
again, it's very very unusual for U.S. diplomats to contact a lawmaker in the sitting government who doesn't hold any portfolio. So in other words, if the U.S. government, if one of the diplomat wants to meet, let's say, the Minister for Energy, it's, I understand if they want to meet the president, or but if they want to meet some no-name guy who joined PTI last year, and they're having meetings with this guy, and then 4 weeks later, that guy says, Mera Zamir jag gaya, and now I don't want to be part of PTI because PTI has done everything wrong. And that is not just one person. If we are able to show that again and again and again and again, like you said, 20 people. So when that pattern is there, is that these guys who have no ministries have been barely identified with PTI, and a foreign diplomats, diplomatic corps is meeting with them again and again, then that smells fishy. And that then add to specifically using the language that the motion of no confidence is coming, and if it fails, it will not have good consequences for Pakistan. So
yeah, but is it a hidden secret that U.S. doesn't like Imran Khan? They think he's pro-Taliban. They think he's anti-West. His whole rhetoric has been completely anti-West for the last 3 years. You and I disagree on that, but U.S. doesn't like Imran, right?
No, yes, Shayan, actually, I'm so glad you said that, and we are on the same page with this. And I've been telling these people that, look, this language and this is being used by U.S. all over the world, not just us. They
asked Putin to be tried for war crimes yesterday, right? I mean, much harsher.
However, what happened in this particular case, we have used, we have seen how what kind of language they've used against, the previous dictators that have been overthrown, and
right.
Some people in South America. Heck, the kind of language during last administration that have been used for each other here in the Congress. So the language, part of it, I could overcome that. Me being here for 30 plus years, and I understand this, what goes on and how much once, if a room is given, then the room is taken,
Yeah.
And if they get used to using that kind of language, then they will use it. And that has happened. And all of a sudden, someone in Islamabad decided that we're not going to take that language. But
why? But why did they make it into such a mount? Okay, I can agree with that. Somebody taking a stand and saying, "Hey, that's not cool. We're going to go and what do they call it? There's a particular diplomatic term for it. Hey, we're going to go and give you a notification that you need to show up here and explain this and explain that." That's different than going, "Oh, so all these people are with you." Now let's widen the photograph here. Yeah.
So that is again yet to be proven, but it has been alleged. And the allegation.
How is it alleged? I'm sorry, Nadeem, I got to stop you there. How is it alleged when the deputy speaker said this is what happened? The motion's gone. He did this investigation.
And I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So the allegation is that this kind of language was used in which a specific act of parliament was hinted upon. A motion for vote of no confidence is coming up against Imran Khan, and we want him out. And the next day, the motion is filed. So
okay.
that coincidence, and again, if the motion was filed prior, and they would have said that, hey, we want him out, that would have made some sense.
Well, okay. Imran Khan said he wishes Modi would win because then Kashmir would be settled. Modi wins. That's a conspiracy between Imran Khan and BJP. I mean, What is the coincidence thing here? Don't you think if they were actually planning this, then they would be a little more cautious about when they file something or how they do something? But widen the picture, Nadeem. You're saying as if, one second, let me introduce another element that I think people are looking at. What just happened with Aleem Khan coming out, Server coming out, all these people I know, they've already gotten their conscience back all of a sudden after 3.5 years, after they've been sacked or whatever. And it's laughable. I laugh too. I think you're smirking at the same thing because hey, right? I mean, were you sleeping? What the hell were you doing? Nobody would take you seriously after you've been sacked and come and cry like a baby, right? But having said that, you have to concede that some of the people leaving PTI were not just ordinary members from one, district or one gaon or another, Tahsil, Tareem, right? Alim Khan, these are big players, heavy hitters in PTI. They were also leaving. And frankly, you cannot, as little credit as I want to give them, you have to admit that the opposition was also meeting with these people, right? Trying to, jahan se wo 3 crore ki allegations आई थी कि पैसे देके खरीद रहे, right? So what do you say about that? Do you think it was USA or it was the opposition get 3 crore? Ya phir it was a conscience? What happened here? Is it a combination?
Yeah, so we have to look at this, again, understanding the politics, right? I mean, you I know you're much cleverer than you are.
Then I look.
No. Then most of the talk show hosts that they try to talk about like this. Look, if the conspiracy is made and somebody becomes tool of it, it's not like there's someone in State Department calling up every single guy and say, hey, look, I'm calling from the State Department. Guess what? What are we going to do this? That's not going to happen. They're going to put something in motion, and they're going to be wheels in different places, and different people will have different jobs, and they will do it, and it'll become what it needs to become. The person in the middle or at the end may not even know who initiated it, and they may look at it just like that. That yes, that Imran Khan, we need to rise up against that son of a gun, and again, they may have reasons to do that too, but. Yeah. It doesn't take away from the fact that there was this communication and the fact that this bill was introduced a day later, and the fact and this again, this has to be seen. Unfortunately, this has just been claimed, but once we see it, that there is surveillance videos, there are pictures of people meeting foreign from foreign embassies and foreign consulates.
Is that not allowed? Is that illegal?
No, not at all. No. That's not illegal at all. No. Matter of fact, I don't even object to the language used in the communication. That's not it. I'm talking about is it possible that these guys were up to something, and they knew what they were going to do?
But up to what? Up to what exactly? A motion of no confidence is a parliamentary tool, which can be used, which can be, people can be persuaded to use it. Your constituent can go to a parliamentarian and say, please, this ko hataएं. Okay? Yes. Now you're saying that a US ka banda, official, let's say, ya phir, unless you have an audio, milna to I think then you'll be basically lip reading, right? But maybe they have something. But you're claiming that because of that, a parliamentary constitutional principle of the parliamentary form of government is going to be completely destroyed. Let me ask you this. Agar ye ho jata hai, Nadeem, sorry, go ahead.
What I want to say is that no, meeting someone is not frowned upon, and it's just fine. But if it follows bags of cash and wads of cash and then
but koi proof nahi aaya, Nadeem, proof kahan hai?
No, because we have beaten this thing that it's just allegation, because you have people on air coming in and saying, "मैंने 23 crore ले लिए, मेरी life set हो गई."
एक तो कितने लोग आ गए?
Is one not good enough? If there
no, it's not actually to nullify a motion of no confidence. It's not. उसे जेल में बंद कर दो, उसे हटा दो, उसे disqualify कर दो. There are laws about that.
Shayan, and again, you are a lawman, right? I mean, you're a person of,
I would like to be a lawman. A sheriff sounds much better than a lawyer.
A wrong term, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you know this. This is the only this narrative can only be used in a country where there's less understanding of law on purpose. That narrative is being built. Is that isne rishwat liye, isko pakdo. oh, इसने चीज दी इसको पकड़ो. Nobody says जिसने रिश्वत दी है वो कहाँ है. Nobody. Why is that not important? That is the key. The
वो
key,
तो हमें पता है ना आपका क्लेम क्या है.
when the day our narrative becomes is that ये कौन था जो इन लोगों को पैसे देने आया था. That's where it is.
Yeah, लेकिन Nadeem, you really want to break that down? Okay, sorry.
जो है deny कर रहे हैं. Oh, that's not the issue. Who were the ones sending money? That's the key.
Okay, Nadeem, I agree with you at the upper level, yes. लेकिन जब एक गरीब आदमी जाके किसी को 10 रुपए खिलाता है या 100 रुपए खिलाता, आजकल 10 रुपए में कुछ भी नहीं आता, 100 रुपए खिलाता है और वो अपनी फाइल मूव कराता है, तो उसको तो पनिश नहीं किया सकता ना, क्योंकि आपने सिस्टम ऐसा बनाया हुआ है. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि वो गलत नहीं करता एथिकली, शायद वो एथिकली चैलेंज भी हो इंसान या फिर मजबूरी से कर रहा हो, लेकिन ये बड़े लेवल पे 3-3 करोड़ 4-4 करोड़, ये तो दीज आर बिग पीपल्स गेम, राइट. गरीब तो बेचारा सिर्फ अपना काम कराने के चक्कर में, राइट. But let's not digress. Nadeem, here's the point. And this hum letter, there are two things remaining in I think our conversation. एक तो हमें लेटर जो कि लेटर नहीं है, केबल है, ठीक है, उसकी बात करनी है, क्योंकि लेटर लगता है वो नहीं कि किसी ने जो बाइडेन ने कहा डियर पार्लियामेंटेरियन आई होप यू वेल. आई मीन खत तो नहीं आया ना किसी का.
And I in the urgency to do again ये social media में ये narrative building की support के लिए जो चीजें लाते हैं, when I saw it, and I'm part of some very in Pakistan they will be considered very learned groups, and when I see and someone says, hey, here's the copy of that letter, and I'm like, yeah. And it has the seal of the President of the United States.
Factual deviation हो जाती है जरा, क्योंकि facts बहुत जरूरी हैं, खासकर इस situation में. So if we were to break down that, so I'm going to post two things and I'm going to let you talk about them, and then maybe we can have a little back and forth on that. एक केबल के बारे में बात करनी है, कहाँ से आया, क्या लिखा है, किसको दिखाया गया, पूरा ब्रेक डाउन, ठीक है. दूसरी मैंने आपसे ये बात पूछनी है जो कि सबके दिमाग में है, anyone who's worried about a continuity of government, right? Agar Supreme Court keh deti hai, if Supreme Court says, oh yeah, here's the deal, okay, maybe we're not going to rule on this because wheels are already in motion, election hona hai, jo bhi hona hai. Because your party's narrative at this point, let's be fair, and I think it was probably planned very successfully, might I say, that, oh, ye log elections se dar rahe hain, pehle log election chahiye, elections se dar rahe hain, right? But the truth of the matter is, what they're saying is, अगर इलेक्शन हो भी गए और अगर मोशन फिर से आया तो फिर वही चीज होगी. अब वो भी कर सकते हैं या आप लोग भी वापस कर. The whole process of motion of no confidence would die a horrible death in this situation. तो अब आप प्लीज उस केबल और इस प्रिंसिपल के बात कीजिए कि उसका कैसे बचाएंगे अगर ये बात आगे निकल गई.
So the cable. You have known me over the years. I'm more involved with some of the diplomatic, people in the foreign office. So
I've seen your Facebook pictures, Nadeem.
and I say on both sides,
I know.
So I know how
you're a bridge builder. I know you're a bridge builder. But this is major stuff now, right? This is like very serious stuff. Yeah.
So one of the things that happens is so you have these diplomatic contacts, so you have an ambassador or consul generals, offices, and they have contacts with the host country based on whatever their agenda is, whatever the task they've been given, and it goes both ways. The host country has a foreign office. In this case, the State Department in Pakistan is called Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They also have these communication with all the countries that bilateral relations that they have established diplomatic relationship. One of the method of communication that is more formal is when a meeting is called at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or in this case at State Department. When those meetings are called in, those are formal meetings, and bear with me. There was
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. You're back.
on my screen, and I had to click it.
Yeah.
So one of the method, the procedures is that when there is a serious meeting, it is called into at the host country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or in this case, State Department. So a State Department will invite the ambassador on a specific date and time and the topic of discussion. So it's a formal meeting. When they go there, both sides take notes, just like, when you guys do your depositions, whenever. So it's one of those things that both sides.
It's official. It's not just,
Yeah. Official, and the record is kept. Okay, the record is, and it's on both sides, and they can be reconciled. In this, Shayan, I'm not seeing you anymore.
Yeah, I'm back too. There you
go. All right. So a communication, a meeting took place, and when the meeting took place, the process is, once that meeting is finished, the ambassador goes back to the embassy. They work on, exactly, okay, let's go over it. If there are some doubts or the clarification that needs from the State Department, they discuss that if it's needed, if needed. If not, then they put that in a communique and they transfer it to Foreign Office. In the past, they used to use a diplomatic pouch, and they would put it on a ship or a plane. These days are encrypted email methods that they can.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So they communicate that. So the very next morning, the foreign minister received it. As he received it and he read it, the first thing, according to him, that he did is he called the prime minister and said, "I want to meet you." The prime minister said, okay. He went to the prime minister house and showed him the communication. And at that time, they decided that, this needs attention. This is not your typical communication. By next day, the motion came into the assembly. Now I'm giving you some more information. A few days later.
Do me a favor, if you don't mind. Let's pause for a second, Nadeem. We'll edit this. Just can you pause? Just like 5-minute break, okay? If you don't mind. Thank you. Let me just pause this for a second. I'll be right back. Okay?
You're recording.
Let me just pause this from here, and then you can be back. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so just about I'm gonna. So as I was saying, once the prime minister received it and they went over it and they said, okay, this needs to be further reviewed. And then the next day, the motion was filed in Parliament House in the National Assembly of Pakistan for vote for no confidence. So then things got a little serious. Fast forward a few days later, there was a ceremony in Kamra, which is an Air Force base,
right,
where a Chinese-built fighter jet was inducted into Air Force. So in the Air Force, yeah, the J-10C, I think, to be exact. And during that ceremony, informally, the prime minister went and chatted with the chiefs, because all the chiefs were there, the army chief, the naval chief, the Air Force chief, So he mentioned it to the army chief then. Obviously, IB and other intelligence agencies that works for the government, they have a routine surveillance over activities, and they started bringing in reports of unusual activity, which again, when I said it's unusual, there is a way to tell that it is unusual.
So you're saying in those 3 weeks between okay. And that's what led to the rendering of that very harsh judgment by the deputy speaker.
Yes. So it was a build up to it. However, the government felt that it needs to be legally secured. You cannot just say that I got a communication from some country and these guys are traitors. It doesn't work that way. So we are fully aware of that. This is going to go to Supreme Court with all its might. And
yeah, but I mean, yes, I mean, you could expect this to go to the Supreme Court because of such a charge and what it's doing, railroading the motion, the no confidence motion. But let's be fair, Nadeem, they did say exactly what you're saying. They're alleging that the reason the motion is disqualified or dismissed and not accepted as a motion, will not be voted on, is because you guys are traitors, because there's a conspiracy by the USA, right? And now, what, a week later, almost a week today, I think, right? एक हफ्ता हो गया, थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो गया.
Since the assembly's been dissolved?
Yeah.
No, assembly been dissolved 3 days ago.
Oh yeah, 58. You're right. Sorry. You're looking at so much information from Reuters, for the Joint Chiefs and the Army Chief and ISPR is mum on this whole issue, right? And basically, वो नहीं कह रहे कि उन्होंने minutes पे sign किए नहीं किए, कुछ भी नहीं बता रहे, right?
No,
hold on, but there's one more element to it. Reuters is saying that their investigation has found that nobody in any circle is taking this very seriously as a threat, which is what Imran Khan and your party is saying it is, a national security threat.
Yeah.
Why?
So the way they look at it and why they characterize it as a national security threat. Yes, there is no direct threat to the territorial integrity of the state of Pakistan, but the way they look at it is why it is threat to the existence of a country is that if once they look at it and the scenario is that there's a group of let's not name a country, but in this case the country has already been named.
I mean, the slip of the tongue, so to speak. I mean, the very convenient slip of the tongue. I mean, acting lessons to le Imran Khan Saab.
No. Look,
he looks like a handsome actor, but come on, man, the acting was really bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, it served the purpose, right? I mean, you got to do things. It served. So there are things that needed to be done, and one of them was the National Security Council meeting, which is now being referred to that it never happened, and it did happen. Then it was that ISPR is not saying anything. ISPR just, today issued a statement. Now,
which one? I haven't seen it.
They say that they stand with the finding of the government.
Yeah, but what is the finding of the government?
The finding of the government is that involvement of foreign forces,
interference in
the
not a threat. There's no language of threat in the cable.
No, because again, so the diplomatic norms and the diplomatic language that need to be used is the language that Pakistan is following. Unfortunately, the language that was used by the communication that was received, that had become a trend over the years. No one uses that language. I mean, let's say on the receiving end, if India. I don't think they received that kind of language, but
but nobody also does. I mean, parliamentary form of government motion to no confidence bahut aate hain. Nobody also dismisses it is based on.
About it.
Yeah. So okay. So let's go to the $64,000 question.
And let me add one thing. So I'm on the record. Parliamentary form of government में motion बहुत आते हैं. लेकिन ऐसा कभी नहीं होता कि जिस पार्टी की खिलाफ मोशंस आ रहे हों उस पार्टी के कुछ मेंबर्स किसी बिल्डिंग में बंद करके रखे हों और वहां से आवाजें आ रही हों कि कोई कह रहा है कि मुझे अगली दफा टिकट इसका मिलेगा और कोई कह रहा है कि मुझे इतने करोड़ मिल गए कि मैं टर्की जा रही हूं
agreed और ये जो करप्शन है, let's be honest, पीटीआई को कैसे लोग मिले इतने सारे एकदम, वो कहां से आ गए एकदम नून छोड़ के और वो छोड़ के और ये छोड़ के. You and I both know that ये तो glass house वाली बात हो गई.
बिल्कुल, लेकिन if we are again, अगर हम ये समझ justify कर रहे हैं कि क्योंकि पीटीआई ने भी ये किया था तो इस दफा इनको भी जाने दो,
मैं ये justify नहीं कर रहा,
precedents.
मैं justify नहीं कर रहा, मैं कह रहा हूँ people in glass houses shouldn't be saying it. मैं कहूँ तो बात समझ में आती है, कोई आम आदमी कहे तो बात मेरी तरह तो समझ आती है, पीटीआई वाले ये कहें कि what's good for the goose, good for the gander. There's so many phrases I can throw at you right now.
And before you even get into your next question, you just gave me such a good out. What's good for the goose, good for the gander, is that अगर ये लोग horse trading कर रहे थे और अब ये रो रहे हैं कि इनकी motion हो गई, kick out हो गई, so deal with it, guys. Grow up.
Wow, Nadeem, you know that if that was the only thing that got their motion kicked out, that would be a different game. People would be like, yeah, well, you know, but that's not what got him kicked out. But that brings us to the big final $64,000 question. Here's the thing. If this succeeds, if this cynical ploy or brilliant political chess move, whatever you want to say, right? Just stop, dekhte hain jahan aap khade hain.
Yeah.
If it succeeds, what is the future of the motion of no confidence? ये तो हर कोई कर सकता है. मेरा लेटर आ गया, मुझे लेटर यहाँ से आ गया, DMP से आ गया, मुझे लेटर. I mean, this ploy will be played by everybody, right? Then where does this leave our parliamentary democracy? And that's a very serious situation.
It really is, and I think that is something that our legislators have to look into it as to how to get rid of this horse trading and these other allegations that comes with this parliamentary form of government.
कोई और वजह नहीं हो सकती. If they just want to dismiss it, they ask their speaker to come up with something else, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, and all of a sudden you have the same constitutional crisis. You're essentially,
No, I agree with everything you said. Again, I wish all our laws were, just comprehensive.
I'm not talking about the law, Nadeem. I'm not talking about the laws. I'm talking about using the principle of motion to of no confidence, not using it, rather abusing it or killing it in a fashion where it becomes a norm. They're gonna just अब जिस तरह हम बात कर रहे थे नैप को इसने भी यूज किया उसने भी यूज किया इस तरह भी ये भी बन जाएगा अगली दफा फर्ज करें किसी और की हुई आई डोंट नो कौन भी आए जो भी शरीफ आए या जो भी आए फर्ज को पीटीआई से कोई आए फर्ज को पीटीआई से तरीन किया आ जाए गवर्नमेंट and he wants to stay in power and then what happens आप मोशन लेके आए there's something going on आप ये तो डिनाई नहीं कर सकते ना कि the unpopularity of PTI was on a pretty high when this motion was being discussed.
I think when the history will be written, besides uski jo legal history jo likhi jayegi, jo ki legal moves mein, uske alawa ek jo blunder jo aayega isme, usme ye aayega, depending on Supreme Court kaise decision leti hai. But it may very well be the stupidest mistake that they ever made, the PDM people ever made. Because Imran Khan was done, PTI was done. We literally had tough time defending ourselves, with the policies and how the economy was doing and all other things. It was really, really bad, really bad. And you know that. You watch it and you follow it. So you know that we were in pretty bad hole. But you saw how it turned around. And that's a genuine turnaround. We cannot just make something like this. You cannot make this thing up, You see that sea of change.
It's a euphoria. I mean, euphoria does pass. Let it play out a little bit. But I'm going to ask you to go on the record with your prediction. What is the Supreme Court going to say? I know it's a tough one. Someone's going to lose this one. So what do you think?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to go with the obvious. I mean, obvious choice, right?
But there are three choices, right? Supreme Court has. This is what the pundits are saying. The legal Pakistani legal experts are saying, right? एक तो ये कि वो कहेंगे जी नहीं वो deputy speaker कर ही नहीं सकता उसने reach the conclusion he doesn't even have the power to not ठीक है constitutionally उसने गलत किया है. Second ये होगा कि वो कहेंगे ठीक किया है. Third होगा कर भी सकते हो ठीक भी किया है राइट यानी ये ठीक गलत नहीं किया है जो भी किया कर सकता है तीसरा ये कि hey cut the baby in half वाली बात होगी कि अच्छा है सीन ये है कि जो भी था वो क्या था वो प्रिंसिपल इनका जो था वो अपना I think Junaid Jogi government जब dismiss हुई थी was about there was a phrase that the Supreme Court of Pakistan used, expediency, कि चीजें आगे चल गई हैं, we should just go with it.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm asking is that's the third thing, जिसमें वो कहेंगे अच्छा election होने थे 1.5 साल बाद, अभी भी हो रहे हैं, people get to decide, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that will be the people get to decide thing is the most.
That's what you guys are hoping for, right? That's what PTI is really hoping for.
Absolutely, and I'll be very frank, because what they have done is they've given us this injection that has totally revived a dead party. The party that was, we had our
booster,
own
COVID-19 booster, Nadeem. You guys got that booster now. Go without your mask and mingle. Lekin yaar, main ek baat batau, Nadeem, I personally feel, I'm just going to go on the record with you. I think they're going to take the third route. Lekin, they're going to admonish this act. They're going to say, this cannot happen, but we're going to go ahead and do the elections. I think that's where we are. Because they don't want this to happen again. That's
yeah,
sure.
but keep in mind, the people involved see, this is a very calculated step by PTI. We knew it was going to go to Supreme Court, but
right.
Imagine Supreme Court questions it based on what? Why are you thinking that the information that the speaker has is not enough, or what information he has? Do you want to? If you want to talk about that, then let's hash it out. Let's bring it out, just like we did in Memogate, and bring out that information. And that's where a lot of people will shake. So we are hoping that he does that. And if he does that, we are ready for it, because there's a lot of things going to come out, and a lot of people are not going to like it.
Okay, Nadeem. On that note, let me just thank you again. And once the Supreme Court does render the decision, I think you and I will have a little chat, if not a longer one. And maybe I'll get a few of y'all together, of PTI people together, introduce you to the other people that already know, but at the same time, I want all of you guys discussing this. I don't think, let me ask you this, there's no PMLN infrastructure out in US, is there? Real one?
Yeah,
or PPP or anyone else.
I don't want to sound cynical. They have some people, but it goes with it's ground reality, right?
PMLN also, Imran was able to build this with his celebrity status, and also when he would go around the country with the the chanda thing.
Yes.
By the way, you know what I call Imran's policies?
Yeah.
Trickle down chanda.
Well, you can call whatever you want to call it, but pretty much in a two-party system, he started a third party, and again,
let's call it 2.5 party, because the third half of that third came from other party.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But I agree. I look at people like you, Nadeem, and some other of my friends who are solid people, and they went along with him, so there must be some reason. But at the same time, I think you and I will agree, as having been brought up in Pakistan, that it's a tough political atmosphere there. It really is.
Very, very much so. Very tough, and I totally agree with that. It's so many times I have questioned the sanity of people who want to be in
Yes, sanity, they go. I personally feel, this is something that I didn't mean to discuss, but, the VIP culture is alive and well. A lot of people go into it for that. A lot of rich people already go into it for that. I don't know. Some people obviously are well-meaning too, right?
Yeah, that's a cultural thing. It's not a politician thing. If you want to see a VIP culture, watch a company commander in a small military company in Kharia, some lieutenant colonel coming out of his unit, and see there's a jeep ahead of him and a jeep behind him, and wherever he passes by, people salute. That whole thing, and it's not just limited to that. Go to some remote village and see Chaudhry Saab leaving, his villa, and going, to check out
elitism ka culture jo hai, wo hamari रगों में वो different problem है, ये कह रहा है,
Yeah,
sociological issue है.
yeah, and it's practiced in its own ways everywhere, you know, in
No, you're
all
good
across.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Nadeem, on that note, I appreciate your time once again, and it's been a pleasure. And hopefully, we'll fight again on Facebook and delete it. But thank you for your time, my friend. Thank you. Have a good night.
You do the same. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and I thank you and your viewers, and look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care, Nadeem. Have a good night.